Hello guys, my name is Antoine from ATM Tech and welcome to the channel. So lately Samsung have kind of been toying with our idea and perception of what a flagship is. Now I'd say this started with the Note 20 last year, priced at over £1,000 with its full HD display and its plastic body. This phone definitely wasn't received very well. Then they went in the opposite direction with the S20 FE, which in all manner of sense was a flagship bar the price at just $699. Now the S21 and S21 Plus, which I have here, hit the middle ground with mostly flagship specs at an almost flagship price. Traditionally, Samsung have been pretty good at offering a consistent experience across their flagship devices, with the only real difference being their screen sizes. As the years went by, the gap grew larger and larger, with this year it being blown completely wide open. The S21 and S21 Plus share features, whilst the S21 Ultra has its complete own set of characteristics. I have dropped a hands-on first impression video about the S21 Ultra, so if you want to find out more about that, feel free to check that video out. So we have a 6.2 inch display on the S21 and a 6.7 inch display on the S21 Plus, which is quite close to the S21 Ultra. The screens look great, as they always do on Samsung phones, and you have access to 120Hz at full HD resolution. But this is where the first blurred line of a flagship comes in. The max resolution on these phones is full HD, no more QHD. Now this probably sounds worse than it actually is. So if you go back to last year's S20, that phone also had 120Hz at full HD, but you had to make a choice. You had 120Hz at full HD or 60Hz at QHD. And most people opted to run their phones at 120Hz at full HD. So the S21 and 21 Plus only having full HD isn't that huge of a change, but the omission of QHD is enough for people to stand up and take notice. So moving on, both phones share a similar camera setup to last year, with a 12 megapixel wide, 12 megapixel ultra wide and a 64 megapixel telephoto zoom. The new camera bump that these lenses sit into is really unique and unlike anything we've seen in the smartphone before. I'm a really big fan of the clean camera cutout and the way the bump just curves around into the side of the phone. Speaking of curves, or lack thereof, both of these phones have flat displays, which is quite refreshing and something we haven't seen on a Samsung flagship for quite a while. I've always been a fan of the aesthetic of curved displays, but not a fan of the impracticality. Of course, flat displays are nothing new, but I definitely think this will be a selling point for a lot of people who have always shied away from Samsung flagships because of the curved displays. Now, just to quickly run through specs, depending on your region, both phones have either the Snapdragon 888 or the Exynos 2100. And supposedly this year, the gap between the two chipsets has completely closed. But obviously time will tell, and I'm sure the internet will be littered with benchmarks in no time. They both have 8GB of RAM and come in either 128GB or 256GB worth of storage. They did come with 12GB of storage last year, which is a slight step back, so again another blurred line for a flagship. Finally, the S21 has a 4000 mAh battery, whilst the S21 Plus has a 4800 mAh battery. I've just got one final thing that I wanted to touch on in this video. One of these phones is made out of plastic and one of these phones is made out of glass. Now I can tell Samsung have put a lot of R&D into their materials, because even though I knew one of these was plastic and one of these was glass, I honestly could not tell the difference. In case you were wondering, it's the S21 Plus that has the glass back. But honestly, if I gave you the S21 and told you it was made of glass, you'd have no reason to doubt me whatsoever. Samsung have done that good of a job. So while I do praise the material, the fact that one of these is made out of plastic again blurs the line with the flagship. And while the plastic is absolutely fine and in a lot of cases better, most people feel as though it should be glass because glass is premium. So I mentioned these blurred lines, and it seems as though Samsung have taken this into consideration with their pricing, with the S21 and S21 Plus being significantly cheaper than their counterparts from last year, being up to £100 or $150 cheaper. The entry to flagships is getting higher and higher each year, so it's always good to see frontrunners such as Samsung concentrating on providing access at slightly lower price points. I'm interested to see if they've nailed the balance, something I'll be looking into when I do my full review on these phones. So subscribe if you want to see how these phones hold up. If you enjoyed this hands-on first impression, please leave a like. It's always appreciated and it goes a very long way. Anyway, I'm Antoine from ATM Tech. Thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.